Yes, I'm humming the theme song so they can't give me a strike for copyright infringement. 2 drink minimum.
Party people, and the place to be. What's going on? It's me. Running a little bit late here. Skyfall, or not fucking Skyfall. Shit. I'm all discombobulated and confused. Running late to see Spectre. But I'm on my way. Here we go. This is gonna be the second drink here. Alright, Spectre, here we go.
2.5 hours later.
Alright, party people. So, when I say I made it just in time, I mean I made it just in time for the movie to start. And it ain't no Skyfall. I said this about the song, and I'll say it about the movie. It ain't no Skyfall. Boy, oh boy, were there gaps in this shit. Now, it started promising enough. Even with the music video, even with the opening. When I told you while watching Writing on the Wall that I was trying to envision the visuals and the credits rolling by and that I could barely do it, I watched it and I could barely envision that song playing behind it. It really did not fit a James Bond movie. Let's talk about the good part. Christoph Waltz's entrance was very good. That whole Spectre scene did a lot of good shit in which they paused. They took time. They let the moment sink in. They let the anticipation of Christoph Waltz's entrance sink in. They let the tension build as we knew that we were getting to the point where he saw James Bond and knew who he was. Batista's entrance, in which he basically kills the dude. Well, not kills the dude. He keeps him alive, but he pokes out his eyes and he bashes him against the table and shit to prove that he should be the one to go after and kill James Bond. He let that shit sink in. There were long pauses of silence, and they worked at that moment. Fast forward 10 to 20 minutes later, and there were slow periods that weren't long pauses that didn't work because they just drug on. This movie was 2.5 hours long. Could cut off somewhere between 15 and a half hour of this movie. Like Skyfall, they didn't lace James Bond with a whole bunch of gadgets, but one of the ones that they did just did the blood that tracked his every movement. What the fuck was that? That didn't make any sense. And didn't come into play in the movie for the most part because they weren't supposed to track him. They had to leave him alone. Moneypenny plays a bigger role in this, which is good. Q's part was good. Daniel Craig does a lot more talking in this one, which is fine. They kind of played on a lot of the old Bond tropes that became shticky, that became kind of stereotypes. Like, I don't think it was Christoph Waltz's performance. I think it was how his character was written that he kind of came off as, "No, Mr. Bond, I expect you to die." And I wanted a better villain from him than that. It just didn't work. From almost the beginning, they kind of played into the idea that this is Daniel Craig's last Bond. There are a lot of, this is the end of MI6, a lot of end imagery, a lot of final mission stuff, a lot of tearing down of the old guard, stuff like that. Those are okay for clues and would have been better had the movie been better. Like, even in the entrance, they brought up villains from Bond's past, the past few movies, some of his love interests from past few movies, and even him, Dame Judi Dench, makes a couple of appearances in this movie. But they just don't play as well as they could have. That's a shame, because I expected so much more out of this movie, and I really didn't deliver. Parts it did deliver on, it really delivered on. Some of the fight and chase scenes were really good. The opening scene in Day of the Dead in Mexico was very good. So there was a tense moment where you knew that it was the beginning of the movie, so Bond wasn't going to die. But you thought, he's got to try to find a way to land this plane or pick up this plane and fly it, and or land on a crowd of hundreds, if not thousands of people, possibly killing a whole bunch of people if he escapes this helicopter. So that was kind of a tense moment that actually paid off, that actually worked. He got away, and I was like, okay, all right, cool, I'm into this. but then some of the dialogue didn't work. They got into some of the stickier sort of dialogue with some of the Bond movies. The fight scene on the train with Bond and Batista really worked. It really showed off Batista as this huge giant. Batista's character, by the way, didn't talk a whole lot. I think the last thing he said just before he died, courtesy of a rope around the neck and flying something or other to choke him out of a moving train, courtesy of James Bond, was cute. And you could barely hear it, and it was just cute. So I think they were trying to hide the fact that Batista probably can't do accents. And that's fine. That's so fine. Yeah, that's one of the things that I bitch a lot about with Vince McMahon, that his big players must talk, which is why Roman Reigns really didn't get over, because it's like, no, they don't necessarily have to talk. They can be silent and kick a lot of ass and really get over. And Batista was silent and kicked a lot of ass. And if you're wondering, wrestling fans, did he break out any wrestling moves, i.e. the Batista Bomb? No. He broke out one wrestling move that New Age fans probably don't remember, and that's the good old cranium crush hold via our boy Kona Crush.
Whoa, look at that!
On James Bond in the train fight. I was like, oh shit, the cranium crush! He broke out the cranium crush hold, and he certainly did, and almost got him the Duke. He's got a love interest in this. There's some play with his past about the guy who brought him up after his parents died. Christoph Waltz's character, that was his real father, and he treated James more like a son than he did Christoph Waltz's character. But the problem with that here was, A, they kind of already played that card in Skyfall with Javier Bardem's character being close to Judi Dench, kind of holding that against Bond and all that other stuff, Bond being the chosen one and he wasn't. And two, I didn't care as much in this one as I cared in Skyfall. I cared about every shot and every scene and every line of dialogue, and it looked like so did the actors in Skyfall, versus this one that kind of felt more like not necessarily going through the motions, but half-assed. It almost felt a little rushed. Like, again, the whole Mexico scene worked, and most of the effects worked because they looked really practical for the most part. Even if there was some CGI, they looked really practical, which is weird because they go back and they show some of the pictures from Bond's past and his love interest past, and those look screwed up. I don't know why movies can never get pictures of their actors, past that look real. Like, why do they all look like shit compared to even special effects or anything? Like, that's always bugged me about shit, and they even did that here. But it looked like it was a bit rushed. It looked like there might have been a better story somewhere that the producers might have fucked with near the end or something. Something rushed this along to the point where the story wasn't as good as it could have been. There was potential for this to be good. They didn't need necessarily to tie Christoph Waltz in with James Bond since boyhood, you know what I mean? To have that be the reason why there's this gorgeous fucking woman walking down Ocean right now. And that be the reason why he followed Bond all throughout his life. And I guess Christoph Waltz's character was supposed to be the reason for a lot of the shit that happened. He was supposed to be the reason why M died and the reason why all these women died and all this. And it's like, again, we kind of played into the sins of Bond's past. In Skyfall, we don't need to retread it here. It didn't work completely for me. The Spectre did not earn 15 of my dollars. It didn't get 15 of my dollars, but it didn't earn 15 of my dollars. Spectre, in the long run, earned a disappointing, I'm going to call it 10 to 10.25 of my $15. It was fine. It wasn't great. It was kind of disappointing all the way around. From the music, which they never should have leaked that song that early, because it didn't work before and it didn't work after seeing the entrance. Spectre was disappointing sort of all the way around. It was good. Again, a disappointing Bond movie was still better than a lot of other action movies, but it was still disappointing. It didn't work as well as it could have. Party people, tell me what you think about it down there in the comment section. Do you think I'm completely off? Do you think that I just wasn't paying attention to everything? I was. It just didn't hit. It just didn't land. It didn't fall flat as a lot of other movies did. but it fell flat for a Bond movie. So again, the expectations for Bond are super high. I wouldn't be surprised if this was Daniel Craig's last movie. I've heard rumblings that he was bitching about it because his wife wanted him, or his girl wanted him to step away from it. He might have been bitching about it because he saw the final product and was left as flat as I was. So I don't know. It kind of falls flat for me. You could go see it at a matinee like I did. I saw the first showing of the day. I paid less than $7 to see it. Netflix it, Redbox it. It's not quite enough for me to suggest paying full price to go see it. If you insist on seeing something today that's out of the 3 movies that are out that I've seen, I suggest Steve Jobs' movie higher than I would Spectre. Steve Jobs' movie was very good and did some innovative stuff with the style, whereas Spectre kind of fell flat. So that's my assessment, party people. I'm parked now, so if I can command this thing, I can actually do. Yeah, there you go. Boom, boom, and boom. You expect me to just watch Spectre? No, Mr. Surreal, I expect you to review it. Fine then, I will.